Okarun is a nerd who can't bag a baddie and prefers theorizing Mark Zuckerberg reptilianization, but everything changes when the prettiest girl in class falls for him and makes a ghost steal his babymaker. Momo is arguing with her boyfriend who demands her to make him cream with her snoo-snoo, but it annoys her, so she kicks him. However, the guy preaches gender equality and kicks her in the stomach before dumping her, leaving Momo frustrated for having a dumb boyfriend, even though her friends have warned her about dating delinquents like her ex. Momo tries arguing that what she truly wants is a muscular boyfriend like Takakura Ken, who is her celebrity crush, and her friends deem that impossible. Then, still depressed, Momo walks past a classroom, and inside is a mob Seiko lookalike loser getting bullied by his classmates. She walks in and sits in front of him, stopping the bullies, but when she sees what he's reading and realizes that it's not Peppa Pig, she walks away. However, the nerd follows her, claiming her for talking to him because of falling in love, but Momo tells this idiot to not get his hopes up. Momo calls him the nerd, and he pulls out his books and tells her that she's in love with aliens, UFO, and ETs just like he does, hence why she talks to him. He continues yapping about the fact that there's a galactic war coming between mankind and the aliens. Momo has enough and cooks this nerd, stating that nonsense like this is the reason why he has no friends and no one likes him. Momo walks away, leaving the nerd cooked, but she feels guilty and apologizes. Momo picks up his book and tells him that while she doesn't believe in aliens, she does believe in ghosts. The nerd starts laughing at her, saying that she's an idiot for believing in ghosts, and it starts an argument between them. Momo tries telling him that her grandma is a spirit medium, but the nerd tells her that her grandma is probably clapped in the head for believing in ghosts as well. Their argument gets heated, and they both start roasting each other's fat mamas, but it ends when Momo challenges him, saying that if she can prove ghosts are real, he will have to be her slave and lick her armpits. The nerd agrees and counters by saying that if he can prove aliens are real, she has to be his slave and gobble his alien-loving glizzy every day. So they send each other to different locations, and Momo is sent to an abandoned hospital where aliens are heard to be hiding, while the nerd is sent to an abandoned tunnel where a ghost is heard to be hiding. On his path in the tunnel, he keeps talking with Momo to stop themselves from getting scared. Momo tells the nerd that the reason why she believes in ghosts is because of her spirit medium grandma, who is the only living family member she has. She starts yapping about her weird family who made her do all sorts of stuff, causing her to get bullied by other kids, but what completely destroyed her was when she saw the boy she liked also bullying her. It made Momo hate her grandma and say some harmful things towards her, but with time, Momo realized that what made her angry was not because the boy she liked was making fun of her, but it was her grandma getting made fun of. Suddenly, while they are having too much fun talking, the nerd turns around to see an old ghost, and the old prune offers to gobble his glizzy while he can jiggle her satty jugs. The nerd hits the gas and runs away, convincing himself that what he just saw was a freaky old lady who wanted a young man's cream, but Momo tells him to not get outrun by the turbo granny. However, the ghost manages to catch on. Momo rushes to go there, but suddenly, 3 clapped-looking dudes pop up and kidnap her. Momo wakes up inside an alien ship where 3 weird human-looking aliens are waiting for her. They tell her that after watching humanity's greatest man, Johnny Sins, they want to learn more about reproduction, so they need a man's willy and a woman's uterus. They start preparing to clap Momo using their women eater Willy 9000 and their psychokinesis to make her thirsty for their pickle. But using her spirit power, Momo tries to hold on. Just then, her phone starts ringing, and when the alien picks it up, the nerd kicks the alien and pops up from the phone, still being possessed by the ghost. The aliens reveal their true self, looking like zebras, and they demand that the nerd hand them his pickle. The nerd, while possessed, tries his best to attack them, but he gets outnumbered and gets yeeted too. They once again ask the nerd for his banana, and he tells them that he'll gladly give it to them, and starts telling his backstory of how much he loves aliens. For him, alien has been his sole purpose of living, as he once thought aliens would be his friends, but now, with Momo by his side, he wants nothing else than for Momo's safety, demanding they get their dirty banana away from her roast beef. Despite his best efforts, the nerd gets defeated, and the alien continues hypnotizing Momo, so she will want the alien pickle. But in the hypnosis, Momo remembers her past. She sees how her grandma taught her to release her che, but instead of doing it, Momo gets angry, telling her grandma that she hates her for making her get bullied due to her spirit medium nonsense. However, Momo believes in her grandma now, and with the plot armor on her side, she releases her che, activates her psychic power, Momo declares that her grandma is a real spirit medium and she kicks the alien's head clean off, saving themselves from being abducted. However, the nerd attacks her, not being able to get free from the ghost. He is still in pain as Granny Turbo tells Momo that she has the nerd's fat dong, and the only way to get it back and to free him from her curse is to visit the abandoned tunnel. The alien ship falls down to the surface, and Momo manages to save both of them from dying. They both acknowledge that both ghosts and aliens are real, but after what happened, the nerd still has the curse, and Momo has to use her psychic powers to prevent him from losing control of the Turbo Granny. He takes off his clothes so she can wear them and tells Momo that he's going to fight Turbo Granny to get free of the curse, but Momo doesn't understand why she can't just come with him to help him, not wanting to leave him alone. The nerd feels that he's unworthy of her help, and Momo tells him to put his clothes back on and not worry about the little things. Just then, the nerd tells Momo to wear his clothes, stating he can't focus while she looks like a snack, and it causes Momo to fold. She asks him what his name is, and when the nerd reveals that his real name is Takakura Ken, it's as if the whole world explodes behind Momo, as it's the same name as the celebrity she loves. Momo rejects his name, saying that he can't use his name in front of her, and refusing that a loser like him has the same name as her celebrity crush. But while she's tweaking on the floor, the Turbo Granny is taking over him again. She uses her psychic powers to save him again and tells him that from now on, she will call him Okarun, the loser who wants to gobble an alien's glizzy. Then they go to Momo's house, which is a temple, to get some fresh clothes, but when Okarun tries to step into the area, he starts burning in red fire and Momo quickly yeets him into the water nearby to put off the fire. Momo looks around to find the cause and finds a barrier made from a talisman her grandma made. She takes it off and welcomes him in, but Okarun is still scared to go in. However, he gathers his bravery and manages to step in unscathed against the barrier. Momo starts laughing at Okarun's yee-ass haircut, calling it broccoli, which annoys him. Then they step into the house, but no matter how hard Momo looks, she can't find her grandma, so he invites Okarun upstairs to her room. There she tells him to close the door and look away while she changes clothes, but when he does, he turns back into the Turbo Granny, so Momo yeets him at the wall and tells him to look away. After changing her clothes, she gives Okarun her jacket, tells him to wear it, and asks him if what the Turbo Granny said was real and that he lost his willy. Okarun looks downstairs and realizes that he has lost his beloved anaconda, and while Momo teases him for it, asking to let her see it, he gets upset and blames Momo for daring him to enter the tunnel. Momo counters by saying that Okarun was the one who started yapping about aliens, and Okarun tells her that it's because he can't miss his chance. He reveals that when he sees her talk to him, he doesn't want to miss the chance to make a friend, even though he understands that they are very different. Okarun apologizes to Momo for dragging her into danger, and that she can stop talking to him if she wants to, but she refuses to do so. Momo points out that this exact attitude of his is why he has no friends, but she also tells him that they can continue to talk about aliens. From out of nowhere, Okarun calls her ugly, causing another fight, and he tells her that her attitude of exploiting people's feelings is ugly. Just then, the doorbell rings, and while Okarun thinks her grandma is back, Momo says that it's something else. She explains that the house has two bells, one for humans and one for evil spirits, and the one making a noise is the one for evil spirits. She notices the talisman on the table and realizes that after taking it off the gate, she forgot to put it back on, making the house vulnerable to evil spirits. They go outside to put the talisman back on the gate, but when they step out, they see the sky turning dark and a wall magically forming around the temple. They try to put the talisman back on, but see that the wall has blocked off their exit and the gate where the talisman is supposed to be on. They turn around and see a giant evil spirit looking down on them, and when it attacks them, they dodge. They run away from it, but they get yeeted to a glass window. They hide behind the house, and Okarun points out that they're facing an alien, which confuses Momo as she thinks it's an evil spirit since the bell rings. Okarun mentions that people who see ghosts also see aliens often, showing that there's something in common between the two. Just then, the monster releases a gas and explodes the house they're hiding from. It causes Okarun to get possessed, and even when Momo tries to turn him back to normal, his left hand stays possessed. This gives him an idea to fight back, and he tells Momo to let his curse take over but still keep his head away from the curse. Momo does that, and it turns Okarun into a less cool and more edgy Kaneki who has the power of Turbo Granny. The monster attacks them, but Okarun manages to bite off the giant's fingers from its left hand. Okarun starts getting confidence, especially since he now looks drippy, but when he tries standing up against the monster, he pukes out blood and gets smashed. Momo pulls him away, and he tells her that his power feels like getting in the middle of a two-way between Johnny Sins and The Rock without any lube. Just then, Momo realizes from the monster's stance that he is a sumo wrestler, so she tells Okarun that they can defeat the sumo by getting his hand to touch the ground. And with Momo's help, he turns back into his Linkin Park version and speed blitzes into the sumo's leg. It causes the monster to fall, but before he falls fully, he grows another leg and stands back up. With Okarun being useless, the monster attacks Momo, throws her to the gate, and starts ramming her. Okarun tries to help, but Momo tells him to stay still as she has found a way to win. Momo starts talking trash at the sumo spirit, calling him a diabetic Michelin man, and it angers the monster so much that it causes him to continue ramming Momo into the wall. However, Momo sees that because she was pushed so deep into the wall, she is now practically outside the gate, so she pulls Okarun to her and puts the talisman back to where it's supposed to be. It burns the monster, sending it back to hell, and both Okarun and Momo are now safe. They start celebrating their victory, but Momo feels weak and collapses, all the while Okarun starts getting possessed by the Turbo Granny, who comes out without Momo's psychic powers. Turbo Granny starts getting freaky and lifts up the unconscious Momo, wanting a piece of her sweet cheeks, but before she gets to do anything, someone stops her. From behind, out comes Momo's grandma, who looks like the hot moms you see in advertisements, Seiko carrying a baseball bat and ready to cook some evil spirits. Turbo Granny tries using her speed to get the upper hand, but Seiko burns her whole body and puts her inside a circle. She explains that with the circles, if the nail is inside the circle, the inside becomes the barrier, while if the nail is on the outside of the circle, the outside becomes the barrier, which is what Turbo Granny is in, and which is why she couldn't touch her earlier. Turbo Granny tries threatening Seiko, but Seiko starts abusing Turbo Granny with her baseball bat like a husband from the 1950s when his wife burned the turkey and tells her to put on more of a fight. She pulls out her giant pencil while going around Turbo Granny, talking trash, and draws another circle. It creates a second barrier outside of the smaller one. And while Turbo Granny tries to negotiate, saying that it will also burn the human inside, Seiko doesn't care and deletes the inner circle. Later, Momo wakes up in her room and quickly runs downstairs to look for Okarun, but finds Seiko instead. Momo doesn't expect to see Seiko here, but Seiko already knows what happened and asks Momo if she went to a spiritual spot. Momo confesses that she didn't, but her friend did, and when Momo asks her about Okarun, Seiko tells her that she has cooked the evil spirit to a crisp. Momo panics after hearing this and demands Seiko to explain further, but Seiko refuses to answer and recites what Momo once told her, and that she is nothing but a phony of a spirit medium. At first, Momo calls her out for holding grudges, but in the end, Momo goes down to her knees, acknowledging that what Seiko told her all this time is real, and apologizes for calling her a fake spirit medium. Seiko tells Momo that Okarun is in the main shrine, and she hurries herself to head there, scared of losing him after how he wanted to make friends, regretting that she sent him to the abandoned tunnel. However, when she opens the door, Okarun is fine and dandy, and she quickly closes the door, feeling embarrassed for caring for him so much. Momo starts scolding him for being alive, and they argue about why she's pissed that he's alive. Seiko pops up and explains that as long as Okarun stays inside the shrine, he won't turn into Turbo Granny, but if he steps out, he will instantly transform. It intrigues Seiko on why Momo likes Okarun, but Momo tries to explain that she just wants to help him after he loses his banana to Turbo Granny. She explains to Seiko that she now has psychic powers after battling aliens, and Seiko has difficulties believing her, saying it sounds like a bad Michael Bay movie. However, Seiko knows how terrifying Turbo Granny is. As a spirit medium, Seiko once visited the abandoned tunnel, but after arriving, she couldn't enter due to how strong the spiritual power is. She sees that the Turbo Granny has merged with another spirit, a spirit that stays in a particular location, and is the strongest when they are near their location. With how powerful Turbo Granny is, Seiko tells Momo to just give up on Okarun and his banana-less crotch as she doesn't want to lose Momo. But Momo states that just like how Takakura Ken would save people in his movies, she will also save Okarun. Seiko starts teasing him for really liking Ken. However, after seeing her conviction, Seiko gives them a way to defeat Turbo Granny, and she tells them that the only way to defeat a location-bounded spirit is by playing tag with her and bait her to run after them until they reach outside the city. Momo rejects her idea, saying that she's not Usain Bolt, and asks Seiko if she can't just create another talisman and put it in the tunnel. Seiko explains that her powers are useless if used outside the city, which is where the tunnel is located, and she adds that her power can only be used inside the city where the god she borrows her power is located. Momo still feels it's impossible for her to outrun Turbo Granny, but Seiko points out that Okarun should do it. Momo still doubts the idea, as that means Okarun has to run while giving Momo a piggyback ride. Seiko suggests that they should start training, and she will help them train. She orders Okarun to train his demon form while Momo has to train her psychic powers. After Seiko leaves them, Okarun apologizes to Momo for the way he fought the sumo spirit, deeming himself selfish for not protecting her, and he promises that he will protect her next time. Momo tells him that it's fine, but he still begs her to not leak him out of disappointment, and when Momo is confused about what he's yapping about, Okarun points out how she closed the door on him earlier. She assures him that she's not disappointed and tells him that he looks cool during fighting, and that she will gladly help him anytime. The next morning, Okarun starts panicking as he needs to go to the toilet, and Momo needs to watch Okarun take a dump to prevent Turbo Granny from taking over. Seiko asks Momo how she holds back Okarun's curse, and Momo explains that it's like her holding his dark aura, making it shrink. It disappoints Seiko, who initially thought that her psychic powers would be mob psycho level, but she finds a silver lining. She tells Momo to use her power on Okarun while closing her eyes, saying that her power is too dependent on her visual senses. Momo closes her eyes and starts feeling herself containing Okarun, but while she gets her hopes up, she fails to hold back Turbo Granny. She puts her back in, but it leaves Okarun desperate to need the toilet, so he runs off to the toilet. However, Momo holds him back, not letting him use the toilet inside, but Okarun runs inside anyway. Seiko joins in the fun, but it ends with Okarun sitting on the toilet, depressed and exposed, as Momo has to look at him without his fat dong. Seiko points out that Momo's full potential can only be released after training, and she will help her achieve it. Just then, Momo looks inside and sees that Turbo Granny has come out, and when she looks around, both Seiko and Okarun freeze. Turbo Granny tells Momo that Seiko will die in the near future, and she invites Momo to quickly come to the tunnel, stopping her from getting enough time to train so she can beat her. Then, Turbo Granny disappears, and she leaves both Okarun and Seiko bleeding. When Seiko sees that her talisman is burned, she realizes that they need to move fast, so she puts both Okarun and Momo in temple costumes that act as their shield against the evil spirits. Seiko once again scolds Momo for screwing up everyone, which annoys her, but before she leaves, Seiko hugs her, begging her not to die. As the two leave, Seiko begs the gods for their safety. They ride the train to head there, and while Okarun is welling in self-pity, Momo is full of anger, promising to beat the Turbo Prune for threatening her only family member. Once they arrive at the tunnel, they start arguing about who should enter first out of fear, but they eventually decide to enter together. They start getting confident, thinking that they can defeat the old prune easily, but Turbo Granny pops up in the form of a giant head. They try to run away, but Turbo Granny has blocked both sides, so Momo tries attacking it, but Granny easily eats her attempts. They then try to use Okarun's curse power, but when they try to do it, Okarun turns to normal, and Turbo Granny laughs at them, saying that she has given Okarun back his willy and takes back her curse. Just as Turbo Granny is about to eat them, Momo remembers how Seiko told her that Turbo Granny holds pride in her speed, so Momo starts talking smack, calling Turbo Granny a slow old prune and challenges her to a race. Turbo Granny takes the bait and asks Momo for terms, which Momo answers by saying that they will play tag, and Turbo Granny has to give them a 10-minute head start before starting to chase them. Turbo Granny agrees to the challenge and the duo starts running for their life, but instead of counting 10 minutes, Turbo Granny counts 10 seconds. After her counting, she captures Momo with ease, leaving Okarun as the sole survivor. She tells Okarun that his 10 minutes start now, but just like with Momo, she starts counting 10 seconds. Okarun demands her to release Momo, but when Turbo Granny continues counting, Okarun pulls out his big boy pants and does the ultimate move. He bites Granny on her jugs, causing her to cream and scream in pain. Turbo Granny realizes that she's powerless as Okarun is wearing a priest's outfit as his armor that Seiko gave him, so she possesses him again like before and rips apart the clothes he's wearing. She starts feeling confident in herself, thinking she has won, but suddenly she feels her body getting crushed as inside the shell, Momo is using her power to crush her dark aura. Granny demands Momo to let go. She attacks her and misses, which sends Momo free. With her power, Momo manages to hold Turbo Granny inside Okarun in the form of a small leech. Just then, the location-bound spirit pops up, demanding they return Turbo Granny back to the tunnel. They start running away from the tunnel, but the crab-shaped spirit chases them down. On their escape, they manage to get out of its sight for a second, and Okarun asks Momo to help him transform. Once he does, Okarun carries Momo and runs away fast, escaping the crab. However, while carrying her, Momo's cheeks are too fat, and they cause Okarun to lose control. They free fall, but he manages to hold Momo and land unscathed. Just as they think they're safe, the crab falls on top of them, pushing them to keep running. But Okarun starts losing his stamina and tells Momo that he can't keep going. Momo orders him to go somewhere, and he follows her order. They enter a health resort and avoid the crab's attempts to attack them while the crab destroys the place. They end up in a hot spring, and using all her brain cells, Momo uses her power to pull on a pipe, releasing hot water on the crab, causing it to get cooked. Its meat starts toughening up, causing it to stiffen up, but while they think it's over, they walk out and see more people running after them. Turbo Granny tells them that she possessed the people to chase after them, and during the pursuit, Momo falls to the floor, leaving them both exposed. She tells Okarun to transform, and while he doesn't see a way out, Momo tells him to trust her. He transforms into his monster form, picks her up on his back, and starts running like the wind. But with Momo on his back, she uses her psychic power to help him make turns. They swing around buildings like Spider-Man and end up soaring through the sky. And there, Momo sees her next move involving a moving train. However, Okarun turns back to normal, and they free fall to the floor. But Okarun manages to transform just for a little just as they land. They both end up on the floor, but Momo realizes she let go of Turbo Granny, and she pops up in front of them to beat them up. She surrounds Momo and Okarun with her army, but this time she possesses the giant crab, turning herself into Turbo Crab. She gets confident enough to challenge Momo to another race, saying that she will give her another 10-minute head start, but Momo feels even more confident, stating that she only needs a second to smoke her. Using her power, Momo holds onto a moving train and escapes with Okarun. It angers the Turbo Granny so much that she starts chasing her, and eventually manages to get on the train, but Momo tells her that her pride has made her fall into her trap, as on the end of the train track, just outside the city, Seiko is waiting for them with traps and talisman prepared to make roasted crab. Turbo Granny starts panicking, but Momo holds on to her, preventing her from escaping using her power. The train drives past the barrier and explodes the crab, leaving nothing but the soul of young girls going into the afterlife. Days later, Seiko takes Momo and Okarun to the abandoned tunnel to pray to the Turbo Granny, as the tunnel was once a place where girls were violated, cut to pieces, and tossed away. Seiko tells them that Turbo Granny was the spirit who showed up whenever there were women who died of gruesome deaths and couldn't rest in peace. However, the spirit mediums still had to hunt her down, as the same way that the living should never mess around with the dead should never mess around with the living. Then they celebrate by eating boiled crab, where the girls are fighting over the food while Okarun is off to the side. Just then, Okarun thanks them for helping him get his willy back, but Seiko gets curious and demands he let her see it. And Okarun runs away, asking Momo to help him get away from her freaky granny. But Momo is too busy gobbling on two crabs at once, like she's gobbling on two dudes' glizzies. Afterward, Okarun goes home, and he says his goodbyes to Momo, but as he walks away from Momo's place, they both start thinking it's really goodbye. Before he gets to leave, Momo calls out his name and tells him that she will see him tomorrow, which makes him happy due to gaining a new friend. The next day, Okarun starts his day at school anxious, thinking of how he should greet his new friend Momo. He spots her waiting for someone at the school gate, but being the nervous moron he is, Okarun thinks that she's waiting for someone else, so he ignores her while she's looking directly at him. She bumps into him and greets him for the day, and as they enter the school, she talks to him about aliens, which she knows he likes. They split up to go to their class, and the second she leaves him, Okarun gets bullied like usual. He sits down and pulls out his alien books, convincing himself that he can forgive his bullies since he now has his friend and future baby mama and Momo. A ball smacks his face, and with full willpower, he forgives them. Meanwhile, Momo is in her class depressed, and her friends suspect that she went back with her ex, but only to see him clap different cheeks in front of her, which causes her depression. However, unbeknownst to them, she wants to talk more with Okarun. The same goes next door, as Okarun also wants to speak with Momo, and during the entire first term of class, They both get uneasy, wanting the lunch break to come so they can meet and talk to each other. Hours later, they go look for each other, but it's as if the anime gods are playing a prank. They manage to miss each other, and even when they are beside each other, they fail to spot one another. It leaves them both depressed, thinking that are avoiding each other, but unknown to both of them, they are sitting next to each other. Their thoughts get deeper, with Okarun thinking that Momo is avoiding him because he's boring, while Momo thinks that Okarun is clapping another woman's cheeks, abandoning her entirely. However, when they're about to go back to class, they accidentally clash and kiss each other. They both get in shock to see each other, stating how much they have been looking for each other. Just then, Momo's friends, Miko and Muko, spot them and accuse them of kissing each other. They both quickly get defensive, with Momo calling Okarun an idiot she will never kiss, while Okarun says that Momo's lips are too crusty to kiss. But during this, Mio and Muko think to themselves that they are perfect for each other. Then, Okarun goes to the toilet to take a piss, thinking that he should apologize to Momo, but when he looks down, he realizes that something is off. Meanwhile, Momo is in her class, turning into the class's hot topic as the girls ship him with the alien-licking nerd, and then Okarun shows up. He begs her to talk privately, saying that they have an important matter, but it only makes the girls go wild and embarrass Momo for being made fun of. Momo calls him out for saying that she had crusty lips, and he apologizes for it, saying that he said that because he retorted against her insults. However, Momo still refuses to talk to him, saying he doesn't want to talk to losers like him, and it breaks Okarun's heart. He asks her if it's embarrassing for her to be his friend, and when she doesn't respond, Okarun walks away in sadness. The friends call out Momo for being cruel, saying that it's not like her to treat someone that way. After school, Okarun accidentally runs into a pink-haired girl named Era, and she starts apologizing while touching him, almost making him cream. Okarun starts tweaking, but Era gets even more aggressive, causing Okarun to fold. Momo walks by, realizing how cruel she is, and when she sees Okarun with Era, she feels uneasy with herself. However, when Era walks away, she starts talking smack about Okarun behind his back, calling him a virgin loser who never touched a woman before, and it angers Momo. Using her psychic power, she yeets a metal wash tub on her head, knocking her out. Momo quickly embraces Okarun and invites him to go home together, and as they walk past Era, Momo talks shit, calling her pink haircut and thick makeup uglier than Jar Jar Binks. Then, on their way home, Momo apologizes to Okarun for her horrible attitude and assures him that she is never embarrassed for being friendly with him. Okarun feels happy to hear that, but he tells Momo that there's a bigger problem and that while his schnitzel has returned to him, his deviled eggs have now gone missing. Momo laughs and takes him back to her place to meet Seiko, who is confused about how he managed to not notice that his baby jewels went missing. Okarun tells her that it's because he's packing heat down there. He didn't realize that his sausage is missing a couple of eggs. Seiko then looks at his soul and tells Momo to bring her a doll and some other stuff, saying that there's something inside him. After making the preparation, she smacks his head, which confuses him, but Seiko keeps smacking him and asks Momo if she notices something strange. Momo reveals that whenever Okarun is smacked, his aura changes, so Seiko tells Momo to grab and pull that weird aura when she smacks her again. Then she does it and Momo pulls it out. While she thinks she lost it, they look at the doll and realize that the aura has entered the cat doll. It starts moving and runs away, causing them to have to chase it down. They go look for it, and using her power, Momo tracks it down and catches. The cat starts talking and Seiko points out that it's Turbo Granny inside the cat, which confuses them as they thought they have clapped her to the afterlife. Turbo Granny explains that as she was about to die, she managed to turn into her astral form and hid inside Okarun's body until she regained her power. She tells them that if she dies, Okarun's golden balls will never turn back to normal, and she tells Okarun to grab a knife and clap both Seiko and Momo at the same time on top of each other. Suddenly, Okarun transforms into his devil form, shocking Momo and the cat with how he did it, and Seiko explains that the paper smacker she used only kicks out bad spirits, so when she smacked Okarun, it only kicks out Turbo Granny's consciousness into the doll while leaving her spiritual power inside Okarun. Seiko adds that she is the only one who can return her power. She starts abusing the cat again, but Momo asks Seiko to stop and tells Turbo Granny that she understands her feelings after seeing the spirit of the victim's souls fly to the afterlife. She tells Turbo Granny that they will return her powers if she returns Okarun's eggs. But Turbo Cat informs her that she dropped the eggs somewhere and forgot about them. They start looking for Okarun's golden eggs. But since they can't find them, Turbo Granny informs them that a spirit or a monster might have taken it, considering that those baby jewels contain a lot of life force. They ask her what they can do to find them, and when Turbo Granny tells them that she doesn't care about some musty old balls, they abuse and step all over her. They go back home to make plans, and Seiko tells Okarun that while he loses his precious apples, he still needs to keep his newly found powers in check due to how dangerous it is. The next day, some NPCs confront Okarun, asking him if he's dating Momo, and when he reveals that he's not, they ask him to introduce her to them, stating how cute she is. Suddenly, Okarun just realizes how cute Momo really is after not paying attention to her, but he promises himself that he won't see her plotfully as she is his new friend. Then the boys ask Okarun if he has clapped her cheeks, and when he wonders why they ask that, they reveal that there's a rumor going around that Momo is the public toilet that everyone can use. It angers Okarun, and after transforming, he holds the moron's collar, demanding he never talk trash about his precious friend. The idiot promises that it's not him who spread the rumor, and it wakes up Okarun. He quickly runs to his seat and pulls out his alien books to stop himself from panicking. Suddenly, Turbo Granny pops up inside his backpack, and Okarun quickly takes her outside. He asks her why she's here, and she tells him that Seiko let her since she is now useless without her powers. Momo pops up looking for him, and just as Okarun is about to tell her about the cat in his bag, Turbo Granny tells him to shut his mouth. She forces the bag to drop and plans her escape. Just then, after what they said about Momo, Okarun sees Momo's true beauty and folds completely, refusing to look at her face. Momo asks him what's wrong, and when he refuses to answer, she starts chasing him down to get answers. Later, Momo gets depressed again after what happened, and her friends know that it's about Okarun. Mako informs her that Okarun defended her against some morons who badmouthed her, and that there is a rumor surrounding her being a glitzy gobbler. Days before, one of the golden balls drops on Era, and when she picks it up, the train where Momo is battling Granny passes her, and it makes Era think to herself that it's the balls from heaven. Then, Era is living her good life, saying to herself how pretty she is and how ugly people should go to their knees and clean her feet with their mouths. However, she recently has some beef with Momo and spreads rumors about her being a glizzy gobbler. She does it because when she saw Momo, she also saw a demon's wings on her back, which convinced her that Momo is a demon. Era thinks to herself that she is the chosen one, and her conviction grows stronger with the golden ball that makes her feel that she has to save the world. Then she gets some religious items that she believes she can use to fight against Momo and her demonic powers. While her friends are telling her she's going crazy, Era starts tweaking, saying that she's seeing things while her friends can't see anything. However, when boys come to talk to her, she acts like her usual two-faced self, but in the distance, Turbo Granny has seen it. Later, Momo is chilling with Granny and Okarun, who still refuses to see her face. Momo doesn't like that Turbo Granny is here, and starts taunting her for losing to her, which triggers Turbo Granny. Okarun gets them back to the topic and informs Momo that Turbo Granny has found one of the balls. She informs them that the ball is in the possession of a weird chick, whose name she doesn't know, and that whoever touches the ball gains the ability to see spirits, but spirits can also see them. Momo realizes that the girl is now in danger as evil spirits will come for her, and they urge that they need to find her. After school, they regroup to find her, but Era herself pops up, demanding Momo to talk to her privately. Not knowing who she is, Momo only recognizes her as the girl who got smacked in the head and follows her. But after they leave, Turbo Granny tells Okarun that Era is the girl with his ball. Later, Era takes Momo to an abandoned factory, and there, Momo gets jumped by Era's friends. She tries to break free while Era uses her religious items at Momo. However, Momo uses her psychic power to yeet the two friends, and Era is now more convinced that Momo uses demonic powers. Era pulls out the golden ball and sticks it on Momo's face, and when Momo realizes what it is, she feels disgusted to have Okarun's baby batter ball on her face. Then, Okarun arrives in a panic, saying that Era is being targeted. Suddenly, an evil spirit attacks Era, calling herself Era's mommy. The spirit starts yapping about how she has wanted Era to see her, and Okarun transforms to attack her, but she dodges his attempt. The spirit starts yapping about how she won't let them take Era from her, and when Okarun tries to attack again, she catches him and tries swallowing him whole. Momo uses her psychic power to save him, but with her hands tied, she struggles to control her power, but the evil spirit kicks Momo away and swallows Okarun. The evil spirit shows her excitement with Era in her hands, stating how long she waited for Era to see her and how much she wants Era to call her mommy. She reminds Era of how she called her that in the past and begs her to do it again. However, Momo gets back up, ruining the party, and it annoys the evil spirit. Turbo Granny pops up, and using a stolen phone, she informs them that they are facing a yokai called Acrobatic Silky. Era has enough and starts talking smack, calling Silky a creepy monster with saggy jugs, and Silky swallows her out of frustration. Silky gets angry, blames Momo for making her child disobedient, and uses her hair to attack. Momo begs Turbo Granny to take off her zip tie, but she refuses to do so, telling Momo that every woman for themselves. Silky catches Momo and ragdolls her around like nothing while moving like a ballerina. Silky locks down Momo, demanding her to call her mommy, but when Momo doesn't respond, Silky also swallows her. It leaves Silky in tears, looking for her child, but Turbo Granny confronts her, talking smack and demanding she return the brats she swallowed. Turbo Granny points out that Silky ate some of her own hair, and Silky starts burning from out of nowhere. Turbo Granny explains that the cross Era used was a lighter, and Momo used it to burn Silky's hair from the inside. Silky spits out everyone from her stomach, leaving them slimy, sexy, and ready for a counterattack. In her eyes, Silky sees a black and white world where she's chasing something, but before she's able to get it, she goes back facing Momo and the others. She starts accusing them of taking Era from her, and she attacks them. With Era in his hands, Okarun and Momo try running away, but face difficulty due to the closed surroundings that prevent Okarun from going full speed. Using her hair, Silky manages to yeet Momo away, still demanding Era back, and Okarun continues running away, avoiding her hair attacks. He manages to dodge all of them at the start, but ends up getting kicked by Silky. The monster approaches the unconscious Era and tells her that it's okay if she won't call her mommy, but she wants to eat Era so they can be together again. However, Silky is unable to move another inch, and Momo points out that it's because her hair attacks caused her to get stuck to the whole building. Silky tries to break herself free, but after seeing this opportunity, Momo holds her still with her psychic power and tells Okarun to go full throttle and blasts Silky away. Okarun hesitates, yapping about how his plot armor is not strong enough for this, but while he yaps along, Silky gets closer to being free. Momo begs Okarun to stop being a wimp and do it, and just as Silky is about to break free, Okarun transforms and blasts her away full throttle, eating her to the building next door. Momo praises Okarun for his action, but it ends up with his whole body almost crushed. Turbo Granny pops up and expresses her disappointment in Okarun for sucking at using her powers, but assures them that Silky will be out of commission for a while. She starts looking for the golden ball in Era's pocket, but when she finds it, Turbo Granny informs them that Era is dead. They all start panicking, and Momo tells Okarun to check for vitals, and he can feel that it's weak. Turbo Granny tells them that normal people will die when swallowed by a yokai, and the two of them are lucky enough to have powers to prevent their deaths. Momo tells him to do CPR while she will use her psychic power to resuscitate Era's heart. Just then, Silky gets back up, but instead of attacking, she shows her grief towards her precious Era's death. She tells them to take her aura and fuse it with Era's so she can go back to life like putting a battery in motors. Momo doesn't trust her, stating that she will just eat Era. But after hearing this, Silky breaks her own jaw, showing Momo that she's being genuine. Turbo Granny assures them that Silky is telling the truth, and after hearing this, Momo asks Silky how to do it. Okarun transforms just in case, and Silky tells Momo to use her psychic power to connect her aura to Era's. Momo does it, connecting the two auras like jumper cables, but in the process, she also sees Silky's past, her life before becoming a yokai. Silky wakes up in a love hotel, and beside her is the money she earned after selling off her body to creepy old dudes. In the midst of the rain, she goes home, but she stops and sees a beautiful pink ballet dress, one she can't afford. She opens the door to her apartment, and her precious daughter hugs her, welcoming her home with a bright smile as her mother. Silky smiles back at her and picks her up inside. As a mother, Silky works odd jobs while trying to raise her daughter, feeding and teaching her ballet, which leaves her tired most of the time. However, even in her fatigue, Silky is always there in spirit for her precious daughter. With every single day spent, they manage to live a peaceful life while Silky still has to pay off her debts. One day, Silky spent the extra money to buy a pink dress for her daughter, one that the daughter wears often, and one that Silky spent her sweat and blood for. They spend a birthday together, full of smiles, while the night stars accompany them as their light of a more beautiful promise of a future. However, with every light, darkness follows, as one day, Silky is unable to pay her debt and the mobs beat her up for it right in front of her daughter. It leaves Silky bloody, and when the daughter has enough, she tries to protect her mother, but her efforts are in vain as the mobsters pick her up and take her away to pay off the debt. Silky tries everything to fight back, but they overpower her and leave her powerless and without a daughter, in a room where they created their most beautiful memories in. However, Silky chases them, refusing to give up, all for the sake of what is most precious to her. But despite her best efforts, she falls due to the loss of blood. She can still feel her daughter's warm smile, slipping away from her, and she's unable to go on. After the tragedy, Silky dances through the night aimlessly, dressed in blood and tears of her great loss, and as she continues to dance, with the memory of her daughter still warm in her heart, she ends her own life after her last dance. She turned into a yokai, not remembering what she lost, but one day, a little Era hung on to her, calling her her mother. Era's father picked her up while Era thought that Silky was her mother, but the father told Era that her mother had gone to a better place, right beside the Father in heaven. Silky now remembers how she promised to protect Era and turned herself into a monster. Era wakes up from the dead, and Momo falls to her knees in pain after seeing the tragedy of Silky's life. Okarun turns hostile, thinking Silky did something to her, but Momo screams at him, telling him to not touch her. Silky slowly perishes after giving her aura to Era, apologizing for not protecting her. And while Momo is asking what will happen to Silky, Turbo Granny tells her that there's nothing they can do as Silky will leave while being unable to rest in peace like she never existed in the world. Momo begs that they do something, and Turbo Granny tells them that it's up to Silky if she's able to rest in peace. In her last moments, Silky regrets not being able to provide her daughter with a more beautiful life, saying that if she had been born to a different mother, her daughter would have lived a happier life. Suddenly, Era hugs her and tells her that she loves her as her mother, and it reminds Silky of how her own daughter used to hug her. Silky hugs her back, and just like the stars she saw with her daughter that night, Era prays that Silky will end up with her daughter just like those stars, shining and in a kinder world. Silky disappears in peace without regrets, and Era promises that she will never forget about this. After everything that happened, they all eat noodles at Momo's place, but there, Okarun notices that Momo and Era still have beef. Momo tells Era that she needs to apologize to Okarun for talking trash behind his back, but Era refuses to do so, saying that she can't apologize to demons like them. She points out the nonsense she's facing after seeing Okarun turn into a demon, and how Seiko looks hot even though she's Momo's grandma. Momo and Era start arguing, calling each other $2 bimbos, all the while Era is accusing Momo of being a demon mastermind. With a mouthful of noodles, Momo assures Era that if she's a demon, she would have sent her straight to hell, and Era joins in the noodle mouth battle, saying that Momo's flat cheeks won't do a thing. Era walks away, saying that she's the chosen one, but before leaving, she asks Okarun why he saved her multiple times before. Okarun rizzes her up, saying that he doesn't need a special reason to save her, and Era folds. She runs home, thinking that while Okarun is a demon, she is slowly catching feelings for him. Meanwhile, Turbo Granny pulls out the golden ball and aims to put it back under Okarun's sausage. Seiko aims to bat it away, but when Turbo Granny eats it, Seiko misses and it hits the bullseye. Momo asks him if it's back, and while he's in pain, he feels happy that one of his baby jewels is back, and they all celebrate. The next day, Okarun and Momo discuss how they can get his second golden ball, and while Momo tries to invite him to do research together, Okarun keeps declining her, saying that he needs to do schoolwork. Momo goes to her friends and vents to them about Okarun avoiding her, and when they suggest that Okarun is clapping other girls' cheeks, Momo sees Era in her mind. Then she goes out to buy some drinks, trying to assure herself that Okarun is not with other girls, but to her surprise, she runs into Okarun right on top of Era, ready to give her the almighty pipe. Minutes before, Okarun is going full David Goggins, telling himself to stay hard and carry the boats as he wants to get stronger to protect Momo from upcoming danger. Just then, Era pops up and tells Okarun that while he is a demon, she can't hold back her feelings anymore. She tries to kiss him, but Okarun pushes her away, refusing her crusty-ass lips. Okarun asks her why she tried to kiss him, and she tells him that if people love each other, they should kiss and clap cheeks. She reveals that she learned that from her father's Johnny Sins CDs, and Okarun tells her that her brain is clapped. They start wrestling as Era wants Okarun's demonic pipe, and Okarun holds her back from getting it, but she tackles him, and it ends with him on top of her, which is what Momo just saw. Then, Okarun chases her, trying to explain what really happened, but Momo rejects his attempts as she feels betrayed after he lied to her, and instead, jiggles another girl's jugs. In class, Momo feels depressed about what just happened, while Okarun regrets that he lied to Momo, and did not tell her the truth that he wanted to become stronger. Suddenly, everything goes dark, and Okarun is alone in his classroom with his feet deep in water. He goes outside and meets Era, who is as confused as he is, but he suddenly realizes that Momo might be alone. Meanwhile, Momo is also wandering around in the darkness while her feet are deep in water. And while she's trying to figure out what to do, a Godzilla-like monster pops up. Momo tries to hide from it, but her movement creates a small wave in the water, which gives off her location to the monster. The monster returns her signals through the water, but Momo tries her best not to move, knowing that it's tracking her down. The monster charges up a laser from its mouth, and in one smooth movement, it slashes the whole class floor, but Momo manages to avoid its attack. On a different floor, Okarun informs Era that their situation reminds him of when he and Momo faced a sumo alien at Momo's place. He adds that they need to defeat the alien before they take away their willy. Just then, a boxer alien pops up and attacks like Prime Muhammad Ali, but Okarun saves Era in his demon form. He tells Era not to get in his way, but then he gets yeeted to the ground, and around him are the Serpoians who tried to take Momo's uterus. Era tries to help, but the aliens yeet her away and knock her unconscious. Before they get to Era, they focus on Okarun first, and they tell Okarun that his fat dong is a special dong as it carries amazing abilities. But Okarun tells them that it was a curse from Turbo Granny, which they don't understand. Using their alien power, they rip apart his clothes so they can take his banana away from him. And while Okarun is begging to not get his anaconda taken, someone saves him. Behind them, Era has turned into her demon form, using the power of acrobatic Silky, and she demands them to get their hands off Okarun's almighty pipe. Okarun can't believe that Era has acrobatic Silky's power, while Era is flustered at the sight of Okarun's majestic ding-a-ling. While Okarun goes to find some clothes, Era goes one-on-one with the boxer, all the while trying to defend against the Serpoians. On his search for clothes, Okarun gets in the middle of the crossfire and ends up getting blasted away. Era continues winning against the boxer, but the Serpoians get involved and push her into the wall, giving room for the boxer to punch her in the stomach. She gets surrounded, but Okarun gets back up, and while containing his willy to keep the show PG, he scoots over to Era and transforms. However, the aliens push them down, and with the three aliens combining their powers, they take their ability to transform and walk. The boxer starts beating up Okarun on the floor, but suddenly, Okarun catches the boxer's fist and blasts him away, leaving the aliens confused about who's capable of disrupting their powers. Out comes Momo with her psychic power and puts fear into the aliens' hearts where Momo wants revenge for what happened last time. They regroup and Momo is in disbelief to see Era with her new powers. The aliens approach the unconscious boxer and pump some alien goo inside of him, which gives him a Super Saiyan power-up. He starts beating up Okarun and Era, but Momo gets up to stop them. They regroup again, but the boxer uppercuts Era to the roof as she can't see the boxer's fast hands. However, Okarun saves her and states that he can see it, so like doing dirty dancing, Okarun and Era work together to cook the boxer. All the while Okarun swings his pipe around. Just then, the water turns green and it moves to the roof, causing them all to drown. Momo touches the wall and sees that the walls have turned into water, and on top of them, the Godzilla monster appears. Okarun starts geeking out seeing the Loch Ness monster while Era is joining him, but when the monster slices one of the aliens in half, they all start swimming away to escape. Suddenly, Era gets thrown upstairs, causing her to drown on the roof, and when they look down, the boxer is the one responsible. Momo tells Okarun to transform, saying that his power will make him swim fast, but when he does transform, he starts drowning and states that Turbo Granny can't swim at all. They keep swimming away to escape the barrage of attacks, and in the middle of it, they start arguing about how Okarun lied to get himself Era's roast beef. Okarun has enough, so he holds her hand and rizzes her up, saying that he wants to explain the truth and refuses for Momo to hate him due to misunderstanding. Momo folds to him, and the boxer takes the chance to blast them from below. They both end up drowning, but during it, Okarun holds her hand after saving her, almost kissing her. Just then, Momo gets an idea, and she goes full Gintama, using Okarun like a surfboard while pushing him through the water with her psychic power. They shoot themselves high up in the sky to save Era who's drowning, and they end up safe in a classroom. With Era not responding due to the water inside her, Momo uses her power to force her to wake up and spill out the water. Meanwhile, the boxer and the aliens are struggling against the water monster, but the alien has an idea, and he fuses together with the others. Back upstairs, Momo and the others are ready to launch an attack, but when they go back downstairs, they meet the alien who is now combined with the sea monster. The monster shoots his laser at them, and when they manage to dodge, they see that the monster can't shoot continuously. So they launch another attack, but while they manage to stop the laser attack, the monster has another weapon in the form of the boxer's hands. It knocks out Era, and when the monster is about to laser Era, Momo manages to save her. Okarun points out how the monster is based on a mantis shrimp, and it gives Momo an idea. The monster attacks them again, leaving Momo face to face with it. Momo tells this moron to come get her. The monster charges up a punch, but using her power, Momo creates a zone without water, causing the monster's fist to implode. Momo tells the monster that just like a mantis shrimp, the monster has powerful punches, but it will destroy itself due to its power when outside the water. The monster charges up his laser to blow up Momo, but from the upper side, Era stops it and creates a lane for Okarun to speed blitz the monster. Okarun shoots himself, and while carrying Momo, he goes through the monster's body, ending its terror for good. They wake up hugging in the middle of the school, wet and naked, but before they get to celebrate, everyone sees the mess they're in, thinking that Okarun went full Johnny Sins on her with the puddle underneath Momo. They start running away from everyone ashamed, and Era joins them in the naked mile, making it seem like Okarun is a complete stud for being able to bag two babes at the same time. Later, the three of them get scolded by the hot bimbo-like school nurse, who wants to know if someone bullied them into stripping naked. When they assure her that they're not bullied, she refuses to believe. Just then, a teacher with an off-side hairline steps in, and the nurse gets angry at him for not knocking, so she starts whipping him for punishment, which some of you viewers would love to experience. The girls start panicking over the fact that people saw them in lingerie, but then Momo asks Era how she got her powers, and Era simply tells her that her powers awakened during the battle. Okarun worries that with Era also having powers, she will also be a target to the aliens alongside him, but he wonders why the aliens don't just target the spirits if they want their powers so badly. Suddenly, Okarun reaches a revelation and realizes that the reason why the aliens don't target the spirits is that, despite using alien technology, the aliens are no match against the yokai and spirits, making it seem like the spirits are defending the Earth against alien attacks. However, what worried Okarun the most was the fact that the aliens might already have his other golden ball. While the girls understand his worry, they are still depressed over the fact that people saw them exposed. But Era gets a great idea, and that is to simply blame Momo and tell people that she stripped them naked. While Okarun thinks it's a bad idea, Momo herself doesn't really care if people see her as the villain. Just then, Era's friends pop up, start blaming Momo for what happened, and drag Era out of there, leaving Momo and Okarun. Then Momo asks Okarun what really happened between him and Era. He tells her the truth about how Era tried to forcefully kiss her, which ended up with him being on top of her, which is what Momo saw. She then asks him what he was doing there, and while embarrassed, Okarun reveals that he was working out so he can get stronger. It confuses Momo on why Okarun kept that a secret, and when Okarun confesses that he wants Momo to see him as cool, it rizzes up Momo. She teasingly asks him why, and Okarun refuses to answer out of embarrassment, so he wants to leave, but Momo calls out for him, and they both can feel the romantic tension between them. Just as they're about to make some happy noises, Momo's friends pop up, disturbing their moment. They ask Momo what exactly happened, but Momo doesn't answer as she knows that they could never understand. Suddenly, Maiko goes full Sherlock Holmes, starts yapping her research to them, and comes to the conclusion that they are in a love triangle battle where the girls want to measure Okarun's ding-a-ling. Meanwhile, Era is getting surrounded by her friends who want to know what happened, and she responds to them with her usual fake smile. Suddenly, someone starts blaming Momo for what happened, deeming her the bimbo who made Era embarrass herself, and they start calling her the public toilet. However, after everything she goes through, Era can't take it anymore, and she defends Momo, saying that she's innocent and that Era is the one who spreads the rumor. Later, Era is crying out about losing her popularity alone when Momo confronts her. She asks Era if she made Momo the villain as her excuse, and Momo tells her that she did, but Momo doesn't believe it and knows that Era didn't say a bad word about her. Suddenly, the boxer alien pops up again, drenched in white liquid like that guy from South Park, expressing about not getting paid, and the girls are ready for round 2. But before they get to do anything, the alien collapses. He dreams about his alien son needing money but wakes up inside Momo's place. Momo and the others are ready for a fight, even though Seiko still refuses to believe that she's seeing an alien. The boxer looks down and sees a plate of food for him, realizing they took care of him, and he starts crying, telling them that he won't cause any more harm. Then they all eat sushi together, but instead of dining in peace, they all fight over who gets to eat which sushi. Later, the boxer tells them the truth about how his son needs blood transfusion, which costs him a lot of money. On his planet, the aliens work as fighters, but because the boxer is a weak alien, he needs to get foreign currencies to be able to afford the blood for his son. After hearing this, Okarun expresses his desire to help him, even willing to give him his willy. Momo tells him that it's a bad idea, even if they can just get it back. The boxer alien agrees with Momo after he promises not to cause them any harm, and he thanks them for the hostility. Just as he's about to leave for his planet, Seiko tells him that he stinks, which confuses all of them. Seiko informs them that the alien's white blood smells weird, and it reminds her of something. She presents the alien with a glass of milk and tells him to drink it, and when he does, he screams out Eureka, as it's the same thing as his blood. Seiko tells the alien that she will get someone to get him a cow to bring home, so he can extract the cow's milk and give it to his son. That night, the boxer alien sucks up the cow into his ship and goes back home to his planet feeling thankful, promising that he will forever be their ally in the future. Later, the trio begs to Seiko to give them some money for them to buy school uniforms after their previous ones got destroyed. Seiko agrees to buy for Era and Okarun, but for Momo, she tells her that she has to impersonate Hiroki Abe the actor. While she's against it at first, Momo does it anyway, which gets laughed at by the others. Just then, the doorbell rings and Momo answers while still impersonating, but when she sees the handsome hunk behind the door, she switches back to normal. Okarun asks Seiko who that person is, and she informs him that his name is Jin, who is Momo's childhood friend and first love, which makes Okarun panic over the potential love rival. Okarun can't believe how much of a handsome chat Momo's childhood crush is, but just as his hopes get too high, Jin starts tweaking, revealing that he's not cool, but instead, a weird moron who got dropped on his head as a baby. However, Seiko invites him in, and when Momo asks her what's going on, Seiko informs him that this numbskull will be living with them. Momo starts malfunctioning, not wanting to live with this low IQ bum, but Era sees it a different way and thinks that Jin is just another demon recruited by Momo. Era starts yapping about how Momo is planning to defeat the almighty Diddy by getting herself a demonic army, and she runs away, thinking she might be her next baby oil victim. Just then, Okarun tells Momo that he has to go home, and while he manages to step out of the house and walk away, Momo calls out for him before leaving. She gestures something to Okarun, but being the idiot he is, he doesn't understand a lick, and Momo asks Okarun to give her his farewell. While Okarun hesitates at first, he uses his Turbo Granny Rees and bids farewell to Momo, making her fold. At dinner, Jin eats at the house, and every time he yaps some dumb nonsense, Seiko glazes him, calling him a genius. Then Momo washed the dishes with him, and she still remembers how he bullied her in the past for having a spirit medium family. Suddenly, Jin apologizes to Momo for bullying her, saying that he regrets it, and reveals the reason why he's here, and that is because he now can see ghosts. He shows her a picture of the house his family currently live in, and while he is excited at first, it turns into a nightmare. Jin informs that in that house, he can feel another presence with them, and while he tries to convince his parents, they refuse to believe him. However, the ghost showed himself to Jin one day, which almost made him paint his pants brown, and since that day, his parents' health has been declining. They have tried getting spirit mediums to exorcise it, but it gets worse as after their attempts. 3 out of the 5 spirit mediums clap their own lives. They all suggest Jin come to Seiko for help, hence why he's here, and Momo is glad that she finally knows why he's here. However, Seiko refuses to help him, stating that her powers are useless outside the city, and she elects Momo to handle this. Momo tries to reject it, but Seiko tells her that Okarun's golden ball might be involved. The next day, Jin joins the class like a moron, and while the girls want to have his dipshit babies, the guys want to kick his head in. The teacher tells him to sit next to Momo, and he starts rizzing her friends, Miko and Muko. Momo can't believe that he has to sit next to this ape, but Jin makes it worse by announcing to everyone that he's living with Momo, stating that he claps her cheeks every night to make mini Momos. Everyone goes ballistic, and while Momo tries to fix the misunderstanding, Muko tells Jin that Momo belongs to one person, and that is Okarun. Meanwhile, Okarun is in his class, depressed over the fact that Jin is Momo's hot and handsome first crush. He starts imagining Momo dating Jin and how she will no longer be close to him, which frustrates him. During recess, Okarun works out to get his mind off of Jin, but then Momo pops up out of nowhere, surprising him. She tells Okarun that she wants to eat lunch with him, and when she hears that Okarun has not eaten lunch, she offers to feed him. Okarun gets excited, wanting Momo's hand to make him gag, but the anime gods want to keep it PG and send Jin to appear. At first, Momo is pissed that Jin is here to spoil her mood, but when he pulls out her favorite yogurt, Momo folds, wanting to drink Jin's creamy white yogurt. Okarun sees this and gets more depressed, realizing that Jin has taken Momo from him, but as he's walking away, a creepy creature runs at him. He doesn't know what it is and runs away, begging Momo to help. And just as Momo is about to control the creature, Jin stupidly tackles her, saying how he needs to save her precious cheeks. However, Momo sees Okarun's golden ball on the creature and uses her powers to catch it, but it drags both her and Jin along while Okarun chases them, begging for his precious Momo to be returned. As the creature leaves the school with both Momo and Jin, Okarun transforms into his turbo ghost form and chases them. He manages to catch up, and using her psychic power, Momo latches on to Okarun and escapes the creature. They keep chasing it to get Okarun's golden ball back, and Momo manages to catch the creature with her psychic hand to pull it back. Just as they keep pulling, the creature dismembers itself to escape, shocking the trio and ensembles itself back to keep on running. They lost the creature's track in the city, but Momo has a secret weapon and punches an item. She continues to do so to follow its voice, and they find it in the garbage disposal. Okarun asks Momo what she did, and she reveals the creature's heart on her hand that she punched to get it to make a noise. While the creature is ready for its death, Momo calms him down, saying that if he gives them the golden ball, they will return his heart back to him. Suddenly, a female voice is heard, screaming for the creature's name, Taro. The creature screams her name back, Hana, and goes to look for her underneath the dump. He finds her among the trash, and when Hana asks him why he's looking for her, Taro rizzes her up, saying that it's because he loves her. Okarun watches this half-skinned Rize master at work, and how he tells Hana how much she changed his life for the better. It reminds Okarun of how Momo came into his life and changed him for the better, and it makes Okarun realize that he needs to stop being a wimp and win Momo over from Jin, the idiot. Later, they bring Hana back home and beg Seiko to let them keep her. She asks them what happened with Taro, and Momo explains that Taro is back at school to do his job, and will meet Momo tonight by sneaking from school. Seiko accepts their request and asks them about the golden ball they saw. Momo explains that it was a Christmas ornament and that Okarun's golden ball is still missing. Then they prepare for dinner, but during it, Okarun watches Jin and Momo get closer while he's alone like a loser. Jin takes a lint from Momo's hair, making Okarun jealous, but after seeing Taro give an Optimus Prime speech about love, he refuses to lose. Okarun also aggressively takes a lint from Momo's hair, and when she asks what's wrong, Okarun states that he refuses to hold back. He starts tweaking around the room in Jin, but instead of getting intimidated, Jin joins him in his weird movements. Seiko tells them to shut up and informs Momo that she will be staying at Jin's house for the mission. Okarun starts panicking out of fear that his sweet Momo is getting clapped, but Momo informs him that she's going there to take care of a demon. Okarun asks if she's going there alone, and when she informs him that she wants him to come with them, he agrees to come. Meanwhile, some students are taking a courage test at school, thinking there are ghosts around. Just then, they hear a running noise, and when they look at it, Taro pops up running and scares them by jumping out the window. He runs towards Momo's place to meet Hana, but on the way there, Truck-kun pulls up and rams into him, stating that love is for losers. At Momo's place, Momo is waiting with Hana for Taro to come, and she puts a scarf around Hana, saying that she will stay with her until Taro comes. They wait till the morning, and when Hana thinks that Taro won't show up, he appears from behind, apologizing for being late. Momo wakes up from her sleep and is greeted by the mannequins kissing. Meanwhile, Jin is in his room, struggling to sleep as all he sees is the ghost that is haunting him. Days later, they ride a train to get to Jin's place, and during it, Momo and Jin happily talk with each other, while Okarun is off to the side like a lonely bum. However, he puts his head down and is determined to get his ball back. During the trip, all he thinks about are his nuts, and when Momo asks him what's wrong, he screams out nuts. Being the idiot that he is, Jin initially thought that Okarun was about to whack out his almighty pickle, but Momo explains that that won't happen. Okarun has enough of seeing the two of them being close, so he pulls out his big willy move and starts talking about aliens. He shows them his magazine, but Jin takes over the conversation as he also, as a moron, has an interest in aliens. He gets even more interested than the others, and as Okarun is responding to him, he realizes that Jin is the first person since Momo that he manages to talk closely with. Just then, Jin calls Okarun his friend, and when it confuses Okarun, Jin feels sad that he's not his friend. Jin states that as Okarun is Momo's friend, he wants to be his friend too. Later, they reach their destination, and it surprises Momo that it's a hot spring district. They walk through the city, and after they face stair after stairs, they reach Jin's family home with Jin the only one standing. Okarun notices something in the woods, but before he gets to point it out, Momo tells him to come in. They enter the house, and despite Momo checking everywhere, she doesn't feel any spirits present. Momo informs them that just like Turbo Granny before, the spirit is probably hiding itself by lowering their energy, which makes it easy for Momo to beat it. Jin starts getting happy and gives Momo a shoulder rub, which makes Okarun jealous. Momo asks for some juice, and when Jin goes to get some, she tells Okarun to rest next to her. Suddenly, she tells Okarun that she's going to the hot bath, and while he tries to stop her, she leaves anyway, leaving Okarun with Jin. The boys decide to play football, and while Jin is good at it, Okarun plays like he's got zero leg coordination. However, he wants nothing more than to play cool, so when Momo comes back, she will know that his golden balls are not the only balls Okarun is good at playing. From nowhere, Jin asks Okarun if he likes Momo, and he tells Jin that he respects her. Jin counters by saying that he loves her face, and it triggers Okarun, so he states that he loves everything about her. The two of them go back and forth comparing who loves Momo more, but when Okarun remembers how he has kissed Momo, he realizes that he's the real winner. Ji offers his handshake to Okarun for a truce, but when Okarun grasps it, Jin puts him in a lock. Suddenly, Okarun notices something weird about the house, and as they look closely, they see an extra wall on the side of the house that wasn't supposed to be there. They go inside to inspect the wall leading to the mysterious room and realize that it's hollow. For the sake of his parents, Jin goes and gets himself a hammer and smashes a hole on the wall. As they look inside, they see that it's filled with talisman that is preventing evil spirits. Meanwhile, Momo is enjoying herself in the hot spring when random clapped-looking dudes enter the room. They get into the bath and introduce themselves as gators. They approach Momo like alligators who smell some sweet meat, but just as Momo is about to use her power, one of them attacks Momo and pushes her down into the water, leaving us in cliffhanger heading for Season 2. Comment down below, Golden Balls Hunter, if you want the next season recapped when it comes out.